Hi folks, it's Jeanette, your personal diabetes coach. If you are looking for non-judgmental and non-boring diabetes coaching, then you're in the right place. If you're new here and you like what you see, go ahead and click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when I upload new coaching content. Today we are making Crock Pot Vegan Chili. Let's get started. Welcome back. Let's go over what we need for today's recipe. First of all, if you are going to be making your chili in the crock pot, you are going to need, you guessed it, a crock pot. I recommend a big crock pot because remember, we're making a week's worth of meals here, so it's going to be a relatively big batch. If you don't have a crock pot, that's okay. You can just use a big pot or a kind of a Dutch oven on your range, but I'm going to be using a crock pot today. We are also going to need some mushrooms, some crushed tomatoes and tomato paste. You are also going to need some vegan ground beef. You don't have to put this in, you can make it just beans, but since this is going to be a whole meal, I like to kind of bump it up with a little bit of fake ground beef. You will also need the beans of your choosing. I am going to be using kidney beans, and I'm going to throw in some garbanzo beans because I have some left over from last week's meals. For the veggies, we are going to be using green peppers and onion. I also have some garlic here. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I am a big fan. As far as spices, I am going to use certainly chili powder, quite a bit of it. I also like to add in a little bit of smoked paprika to give it that smoky flavor. And then I personally like spice, so I will be adding some cayenne pepper as well as some red pepper flakes, but you can add more or less or not use this at all if you don't want any spice. I bought all of my groceries yesterday and soaked my kidney beans overnight because I used dry kidney beans. If you are using dry kidney beans, you want to soak them overnight so they are all cooked when everything else is cooked. If you're using canned beans, you don't have to worry about that. You can put dry beans in with your chili. If you are going to do that, I recommend that you put the beans in first with the water and get them mostly cooked before you add all of the rest of the ingredients. This is a simple recipe that really just involves cutting everything up and throwing it into the pot and turning it on. Then it cooks all day and it's ready by evening. You can also throw everything in right before bed and have it ready first thing in the morning. I am going to take some time now and get everything cut up and ready to put in the pot. We will meet back here in what's going to be quite a few minutes for me, but just a couple seconds for you. We'll meet back here once everything is cut up and ready to throw in our crock pot. Now that I have everything cut up, let's go over some specifics about how much of everything you are going to need. To begin with, I have 2 cups of red kidney beans. This was 2 cups dry. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be 2 cups. Some people like less beans, some people like more beans. I tend to like more beans. I also have 2 cups of the garbanzo beans. This was 2 cups cooked, just because I have those left over and I wanted to use them. I quartered an entire large package of mushrooms. Remember, you don't have to cut these too small because they will shrink as they cook. It looks like a lot, but once they cook down, it's going to be a lot less mushroom. I chopped up 1 whole medium white onion and 2 whole green bell peppers. We're going to need 1 can of crushed tomatoes, about 1 can of tomato paste. I probably won't use this whole can, but who knows? If not, I put it in a little baggie and stick it in the freezer to use later. I will probably use a whole bag of these BP crumbles. I put these in last, so sometimes it depends on how much room I have left in my crock pot, how much of this ends up going in. These spices are about 5 to 6 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, and about a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And then I have about 4 cloves of garlic here crushed. I will also add some salt and pepper to taste, but you don't have to add that if you don't want to. And I usually add that at the end. The other thing to point out is I also try to get no salt added tomato paste and things like that, just so I can control the amount of salt that's in my food. So now we're just going to get everything into the crock pot and let it cook for the rest of the day. It's been a few hours and our chili is all done and ready to be portioned out. The portion size for this that I've worked out is about 2 cups, and I have the numbers here. The calories for 2 cups of this chili is about 266. So you want to make sure that you're having this chili along with some other things, because just this chili is not going to be enough calories for your meal. You can add some bread, you could add some crackers. I will probably have some crackers along with this. If you're watching your calories, make sure you add those up, and if you're watching your carbs, make sure you add those up as well. Or if you are dosing for insulin, you add any additional carbs that you eat with your chili. So again, 266 calories, about 40 grams of carbohydrate, 20 grams of protein, 12 grams of fiber, and 4.35 of fat. So we can subtract the 12 grams of fiber from the 40 grams of carbohydrate, and that gives us about 28 grams of carbohydrate. As you can see, there is room for adding a piece of bread or some crackers or some other carbohydrate to bulk this up. You can also add some extra fresh onions or some hemp seeds or even some cheese if you're eating cheese. It is currently vegan as it stands, so if you want to keep it vegan, don't add cheese. But if you're not worrying about the vegan thing, you could add cheese, or you could add some vegan cheese to this. So let's go ahead and portion out the 2 cups so you can kind of see what that looks like. There are 8 servings of this. I am not going to eat this 8 days in a row. I'm actually going to eat this for probably 5 days, maybe 6. And I'm going to set aside a few cups of this, maybe 3 or 4 cups, because I plan to use it next week in another recipe. So if you're following along with me and you are going to be making next week's recipes as well, make sure that you save about 2 to 4 cups of this chili, pop it in the freezer, and we'll have it for next week. Okay, this is still really hot, so I want to be careful. This is a very, very hearty, stick to your ribs sort of chili. So there's 1 cup, maybe a little more than 1 cup. That's okay. And 2 cups. And I'm going to add in a little bit of the liquid, maybe a little more. Perfect. All right, so this is the serving size for this. Remember, this is only about 266 calories, so you'll want to add something to this. I am going to add some crackers. I'm going to take a minute and get the rest of this portioned out and get what I'm going to freeze into a container and into the freezer, and then we'll meet back here and we'll see how it tastes. Now that we are done with all that hard work, it's time for the reward. We get to taste our chili and see how it tastes. Remember, you want to put something with this chili because it's not enough calories all by itself for an entire meal. If you're just having a snack, maybe. Otherwise, you will want to put something with it. I'm going to have some crackers. These are not the usual crackers that I use. I decided to try something new. These are vegan crackers. They are by the brand Get Back to Human, and they are grain-free sea salt. So, wow, they're gluten-free, no lecithins, no tapioca, no dairy, no soy. Hopefully they taste okay. Let's try one. Let's see. Wow, they're actually really good. They're very flavorful. They do have just a little bit of salt on them. They're really crunchy. Wow, they're better than I thought they were going to be. They also have quite a bit of, I think, black pepper in it, which kind of comes through at the end. Wow, they're really good. Let's take a look at the nutrition here. The serving size is 22 crackers, which isn't bad. I ate 1, so now there's only 21 in here, but there were 22. I do tend to like to portion things out specifically, especially if I'm making recommendations on carbohydrates and things, so I make sure that you're seeing a realistic version of what the serving size is. So serving size, 22 crackers. Calories are 100. Carbohydrates, 13 grams, but there's 3 grams of fiber. So effectively you're seeing about 10 grams of carbohydrate, which is perfect because this is a low carbohydrate meal. The protein is 3 grams and total fat is 6 grams. So, I mean, it's still a cracker, so you're still going to have some of the fat in there. But they're good. They hit the spot. I think these would be good just as a snack all by themselves too, or maybe dipped in some peanut butter. So, let's see how they are with our chili. I'm always surprised at how spicy it is because, as you saw when we made this, I don't particularly measure things out exactly, so a lot of times the spice is a little different depending on the day. So let's see, I want to get a little bit of everything and see how it tastes. Sometimes you have to wait a second to see when the spice hits you. Actually, it's a really good amount of spice. I can handle a lot of spice. It's just enough where you can definitely tell it's spicy, but it's not like making my eyes water or my nose run or anything. Maybe, as I'm getting through the whole bowl, it might get the sinuses going, but definitely not too spicy. Let's see, let's go ahead and see what it's like with some of this cracker broken up into it. That is really good with the chili. And the second bite, I gotta tell you, spice is coming through a little bit more, but it's really delicious. So, well, hopefully you found this video helpful. I think this is a great recipe, especially for people who maybe don't like to cook or who aren't great cooks, because it really is just chopping things up and throwing them in the crock pot, getting some crackers, and you've got a really healthy meal. If you end up making this recipe, message me down in the comments and let me know what you thought of it. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button so other people can find it too. We'll see you in the next video. Bye! These really are good.